Hey everyone, so we're back to this sort of setup again at the moment. I'm still using the little razor at the moment, but tomorrow the Rode Pod mic should be here, and then we can get into actually doing the deep dives that I want to do, where I know that the sound quality is going to be the way I want it to be. But for today I thought what we could do is have a little look online at a few of the things that I want to get for the channel, and some R&D items that I want to get for the game, and I'll talk you through why I'm looking at them, and then you can sort of let me know your thoughts and what you think. Chances are I'll probably get them all eventually, but unlike anyone else, I can't just go out and buy everything I want at once. So let's have a little look here. So if I open up this, and this is what I'm currently looking at. So this is basically, let me just turn off this. They want to push me to the Thailand site, but I want to read it on the US site. And as you can see, it's not a cheap monitor, but I think this is going to be better suited for my secondary system. My secondary system is a 5070 system, so I think that pushing ultra wide 1440p would be far easier for it than 4K like my main system here. So this is the 34-inch Ultra Gear. It's a WQHD display, like we said. It's also a WOLED, which means it's the same panel technology as my 4K monitor here, so there won't be a jarring difference between the two. And even with the size, 34-inch to 32-inch, I think that it'll give approximately the same sort of resolution, because it's a smaller display. A 34-inch is the equivalent of 27-inch height-wise, right? So I don't think that the resolution is going to be that noticeable, and my 5070 will be able to drive it really well. The only problem is it's white. I can't find a black one here in Thailand, and I'm not 100% sure if that's something I should really be worrying about all that much. I like all my stuff to be black, but at the end of the day, it's the back of a monitor. If I put it on an arm, no one could even tell. And I like it because, just like my 4K 32, it's basically bezel-less, so it's just a much more immersive experience. And then I'm going back to the curve, so it's going to be a curve like my old monitor. I just think that it will be more suitable for gaming, and that way I can get basically 90% of the gaming stuff off of my main system. So unless I'm benchmarking a really intensive title like Resident Evil 9, where I have to use the 5080, or if I'm doing like a deep dive dissection, then I want the full 4K resolution for the YouTube upload. I can just use the secondary system, and that way I'm not worrying about taking up any space, any memory. I can just live stream straight from the secondary system and know that, even if the job's half done tomorrow, it doesn't matter, because this is clean and ready to go for work. Whether that's my photographic work, or whether that's working on the game, the narrative, or whether it's the educational element, where I'm going into Unreal, learning Unreal, and I'm also trying to learn a few different languages at the moment as well. So that's the separation I'm trying to get. And to be honest, I'm leaning towards buying this. Because that would mean that I can get my second system set up, and right now I've got a 5070 i7 set up that's just sat there, and I know how many people in this world would kill for a system like that to be their main system. So that's sort of like a little bit of a what's the word, like I don't want to just leave it there. I want to make use of it. And then this is where I want to really start R&D in next, is controllers. So my game's not going to be a competitive game, it's going to be a single player experience, but just like any game, I want it to be a smooth experience, and I think that TMR, tunnel magnetoresistance, and Hall effect, which are sensor-based technologies. They're not mechanical technologies. You know, like if you hear my keyboard, it's a mechanical keyboard, right? You know, it's a mechanical switch. It's a physical act of something hitting something else. I think that's in the past. I think that we're past that, and I think that something like this, which even today is roughly the same size, roughly the same price as a Xbox controller or a PlayStation DualShock. I think that this sort of technology, if you can buy it today in an 8-bit dough, you can definitely expect it in the next console generation. So this should be here now in the next few days. I've ordered one up, and this will be the basis for my testing in terms of input. It's a 1K polling unit, so it's not massively pushing boundaries, but it's still very performant, and I think this is very much the next standard. If I had to make a guess, this is the next standard, something very similar to this, or at least the technology inside it. And I've opted obviously for the black version, and it comes with its own dock, which is also useful. And I just think that, you know, it gets me straight into R&Ding this technology without a big outlay, without a big cost, which honestly is also kind of reflective of a consumer mindset. I think a consumer would also think that way about the technology. Perhaps they would want to try it before committing to something like what we're about to look at next. But for now, let's carry on looking at the 8-bit dough. So as we said, it comes with the integrated charging dock, which is a quality of life feature. And then this is the star of the show. This is why you buy this controller, the TMR joysticks. So not only do they eliminate stick drift, but they are far more precise. And then even the triggers are Hall effect sensors, like I was saying. They're not even mechanical triggers, even though I think they have the option between the two. But we'll play with that when it comes and see how it is. And motion control, not something I'm too interested in. Extra bumpers, again, I'm not too interested in the customization features. It is more the TMR aspect, like this, you know, the TMR aspect, the 1K polling. That's definitely what I'm going to be looking into once it arrives. And as I said, 1K polling, and then it's compatible with pretty much everything, which is nice about the PC ecosystem. And then it's also got paddles as well, and it's got the wireless transmitter, which surprisingly a lot of high polling items don't come with. And then just, you know, this is sort of USP stuff. I don't think it's too important to what we're testing. Then here, this is a little bit interesting. So it does come with software where you can, you know, sort of customize exactly how the sticks are, but we'll go through that once it arrives. And the same with the triggers as well. So if you want hair trigger, etc, etc. But you have to go for the Ultimate 2 wireless, because the other ones don't come with the TMR. So make sure if you are buying one, it's the Ultimate 2 wireless version. And then just more of the same, really, isn't it? And then the reason why, like I said, I think this is the everyday version. This is the everyday version of this, which is the Wolverine V3 Pro, and this that I'm looking at would be the 8K polling one. And honestly, I might put an order in for this very shortly, in the next week or two, I think, because this would be the benchmark. If this is, you know, the sort of the constant, this is what we expect the next generation to be, this is what we're aiming for, you know, the enthusiast, consumer enthusiast, and I'm definitely in the enthusiast camp. And it comes with basically everything that you like about the Xbox Elite controller, which is a controller I've had previously back in the UK when I was using the what do they call it, the Xbox Series, but I had the Series X, terrible nomenclature, Xbox, but the Series X I was using with the Elite 2, and the one before it I was using with the standard Elite, and I loved that controller. Though in a hot climate like Thailand, I do think the grips will probably wear over time, depending on your acidity and stuff as well. But definitely looking forward to being able to try out TMR technology and Hall effect technology, but not sacrifice customization like the the domed cave convex, and usually it is nicer to have the one taller one and the one domed one. I did find that even in games like Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider was like the benchmark at the time when I was using the original Elite controller, and that was definitely something that benefited from that, and that wasn't even competitive. But again, it's just one of those things where I can read this all day, but until I get it in my hand, I don't know exactly how well it's going to be, because if 8K polling and all this is so boundary pushing, then perhaps there will be a bigger leap than we thought there would be into the next controller generation. But yeah, so that's the only thing. It's going to be Synapse because it's Razer, and Synapse isn't known as the greatest, unfortunately. It's one of the reasons why I'm looking at moving away from Razer in my peripherals, and as you'll see, my peripherals here, can you see? I can't quite pull it. There's not enough slack, but I've got the Black Widow V3, the Siren Mini, and the Basilisk X. And one of the reasons that I chose Razer was because when I was building the PC, it's been a very, very long time since I've built any sort of PC or been in the PC ecosystem, and back in the old days, like Razer was the top level, and I still think in many ways it is, even though it tends to be pushed into that gamified niche. I do think that they do still offer a top level product, and secondly, it's available in Thailand. Like a lot of things like the MX keys and stuff like that, it's just very, very hard to find in Thailand. The Corsair stuff's getting easier, but Steel Series, it was difficult, post-pandemic to find that sort of stuff. And that's not me making excuses for Razer. Like I said, I'm known to enjoy Razer products. I'm not going to be one of those person who hates on Razer for no reason. They do make a fantastic product, and I think that especially now, as we've sort of matured, the way that they've stopped taking the green branding and had it black on black, I think that suits a lot more people. The consumer base widens because of it. So I'm not against Razer in any way, shape or form, and I would very, very much look forward to testing this out. So again, this may be not too far away. And something else as well, staying in the Razer camp, is the Deathadder V4. So I do like the ergonomics of the Basilisk, but I'm not really sold on the newer Basilisks that much. There was one where you could dock it and it would charge, and I think that would be nice, like a nice little, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a desk doodad, right? I think it would be a nice little thing for the desk, but I don't like the way that it's got the RGB and stuff, and with Razer it's very difficult in Synapse to get the RGB to do what you want it to do, be it like a light grey or a matching teal, or just turn it off. Like that's one of the reasons why I kind of like Armory Crate. Armory Crate gets a lot of bad press, but if I just wanted to turn my RGB off, I just do a dark mode, done, and it listens to you, but some software isn't the same. And that's got nothing to do with the performance of it, I know. But the same way that food has, the way food looks has nothing to do with the taste or nutrition, but it's still the first thing you see, right? But yeah, so this sort of still has that sort of, it's very much a right-handed mouse. So I think that the grip is still going to be similar to the Basilisk, but obviously it's got the 8K polling, and I believe it's 45K optical sensor, which is just crazy. But if I'm going to go pushing boundaries, I might as well push the boundary fully. I might as well push the boat out all the way. And for the price, it's one of those things where I kind of understand if you're building a system and you're balancing a budget. But if I'm going to spend $100 on a mouse, I may as well spend $150 on the best one money can buy. At least that's my thought process in this. And I think that maybe my thought process reflects that of a consumer as well. I think maybe a consumer would feel that way. But you let me know, is that something you would look at buying? Would you just go for the top of the range mouse, or would you look at getting a deal on, say, the V3 Pro, which is still a 35K sensor? You can still get the 8K polling version, and it's almost half the price, if not a little bit more. But yeah, I don't follow esports. This is purely for R&D purposes. This is purely for aiming for a technology standard that isn't quite mainstream yet, but also for giving the most liquid experience, fluid experience possible. Because like I said, even playing Rise of the Tomb Raider, back when that came out, it wasn't competitive, but it made use of all of the new features, or the new at the time features of things like the Elite controller. I mean, this might be a little ugly on the table, but you do what you have to do, right? And then here we are. So that's the other thing I forgot to mention with this. It's got the optical scroll wheel as well, which either means a lot or it means nothing, and only buying it will really tell us, because if we read the copy, it'll say it's the best thing since sliced bread, and the same with the sensor. But again, like, if I'm going to try and find a high polling sensor, I might as well find the highest polling sensor and benchmark against that. And then the switches as well, which I forgot to pull them up, but I might actually A and B it with the 8K Keychron with the silent switches, because I don't know if you can hear it here, but as we're clicking through, it might be a thing that could be useful and helpful. And again, I've got two systems, right? I've got this system, which is on the Razer peripherals, which have served me well for these past 3 years, but they're kind of due to be retired. So if I can replace these, I still have room over on system 2, where if I go for like a Keychron M6 with the 8K sensor, the M6 with the 8K sensor could live here or live there. I've got the systems. I'm not just throwing money out there for no reason. Everything's double dutying. It's R&D and it's actual use case, and we'll see how they hold up in a year's time. And then this finally, and this is what's going to hurt my wallet. I'll be honest with you, this one's going to hurt my wallet a lot, and this is where my dilemma comes from, because I can pretty much set up my whole channel and have everything I need for my YouTube to be premium, and set up my second system for the same price as this. But this one thing will help me to no end with the game, and I have to think, do I want to concentrate on the game, or do I want to concentrate on the YouTube? And obviously, as I was saying earlier, it will all happen eventually. But what do I want for the next 6 months? That's my question. In this next 6 months, do I want to dedicate it to the game, or do I want to dedicate it to the YouTube? And it's still something that is pushing me, and I still don't know, because like I said, with these these things, it's R&D as well as YouTube. It's not just content, it's actual research and development. How can I make a decision on what I'm going to target? Am I going to target Hall effect, TMR, 8K polling? And I can only answer that by trying it. It's either snake oil or it isn't. If it's snake oil, I say, well, it's snake oil and it's pointless, and we'll aim to target for whatever the standard is, which is Xbox controller right now. Xbox Elite. I'll just buy another Elite, and then that'll be exactly what we test for. Standard Xbox Elite, and then the rest is sort of a variable that might not be worth it. But if I do benchmark against this, and I believe, like I think it is, it's going to be the best thing that we've seen in a long time. Best thing since DualShock, really. Just like moving from controller to keyboard and mouse is, I think it's going to be a big jump. Then that's what we target. So it's not wasted. No, this is wasted. But this is it. So I'm looking at this, which is the XP Pen Artist Pro 24 Gen 2 165 Hz, and there's a lot of different reasons why I'm looking at XP Pen. First of all, because it's one of the very few, if only, panels which is 165 Hz. They do a 4K version as well, but I think for 24 inches QHD 1440p 165 Hz is going to have that responsiveness that I want. It's going to be better than pure raster, right? Than pure resolution. The 16K pressure levels are industry leading. It's CAMLAN certified, as we'll see in a moment. So it's properly there we are, CAMLAN verified. So it is properly color accurate. Red Dot winner 2024. So it's not bleeding edge. They've got an OLED version, but it's small. But it's definitely going to help with the game. This is something that I can see myself really using, and even past that, I think that it's going to help with a lot of things like carpal tunnel before carpal tunnel is even a thought in my mind. And the other thing, and the other reason why XP Pen in particular, is they've got a big presence in Thailand, so I know that delivery, warranty, etc. I'm not going to have major issues. But this would be my first time with a tablet like this. I do have an iPad, but I've never really explored this sort of interface with that. But I think that even if I take away all of the game design stuff, this would still be very useful for me for Lightroom, masking, etc. So it's definitely something that's high on my list. But if I was to purchase this, then my wallet would be feeling it. I wouldn't want to be making a purchase for a good few months if I bought this. But remember, this is also coming off the back of having purchased a lot already. I've sort of just bought the LG 32 4K OLED. That was not cheap. And this as well. And only a couple of months ago, I upgraded my system. I don't want to be wasting all my money. This is one of the things people don't understand about photography or independent game development. You have to treat it like a business, and I can't sink all of my funding at once, because if I have no runway, if I have no leeway, then it's going to push me into decisions that I might not have made otherwise. If I know I'm good, then I'll do what I want to do. But if I know that my budget is smaller than I would like it to, perhaps I do things that other people want me to do, and that's kind of sacrilege. So it's one of those things you have to really bear in mind. And I'm thankful that with this specific project, even though other projects I've had to deal with whatever I had. With this specific project, what I have at hand is insane. Like this, to be able to say that the Razer Siren Mini is my weak link in a YouTube channel that I've started from zero, is, I understand how that is, right? I'm using an FX30 with a Sony G15mm lens. That's like grail material for a lot of people. OLED panels, 5080 i9. How many people can even benchmark these kind of games properly? And I know this is not a 5090. I know that it's not a Pro 6000. I'm not an idiot. I know that the i9 is not a Threadripper. But I also know that in terms of a normal one-man band, this is exceptional. So I'm aware of that. I won't say I'm thankful of that. I am thankful of it, but it didn't fall out of the sky. I hope you all understand that it didn't just drop into my lap. But the other thing as well is, like, even though I'm spending a lot of money, like, it's nice to be able to choose my tools, because for 2 years I was stuck in the Fujifilm system because I was writing for Fujifilm magazines and my audience was there for the Fujifilm information. And all the brands that I work with me because I filled that Fujifilm niche. And that really pigeonholed me into Fujifilm for the longest time, and I was scared of breaking out of Fujifilm. But when I broke out of Fujifilm, and then everything followed and everything grew, it didn't just follow, it exploded. It was only then that I realized that the niche was holding me back. But there was like I was saying, there was a time there where I wasn't using the tools that I wanted to use. I was using XT5s rather than the Sony A7RV that I've got now. Is there something about being able to choose your tools? And I like having that about this Banshee interactive project. I don't want to be dictated to, and I don't want to work to a market or to a sponsor or anything right now. I mean, would I say no to an XP pen if XP reached out to me? No, I wouldn't. But I don't think I would take when strings attached. If they wanted to donate it as a gift to Banshee Interactive, as something to get the studio started, then very much so. But if they wanted to do as I did before, which is trade media for a product, it's called product compensation, which is the most common form of transaction, because the way that companies are, usually PR companies don't have money. They're usually given a certain amount of product, and then they'll say here's this product, and they want to get that out there, and in their mind they give you the product, you then get the opportunity to make some SEO bait content, and you earn money off the content. And that's the way that this world works, for the most part. There is sponsorships, and sponsorships go past that, and there's partnerships, and partnerships go past that one again. But this is the largest transaction is exactly this. We've got a new product coming up, we'll send you one over, and a lot of times they don't even give it to you. Most of the times they want it back. Usually they'll say, you've got 3 weeks with it or whatever, please send it back. I don't do that. I'm not into the loaners, never have done, but that's just a little peek behind the curtain for you. But if a competitor came and said, we've got a 1080p 24-inch monitor, would you like to test it? I would say no. The reason I've selected it is because, like I said, XP Pen is large in Thailand. I know the sport's going to be there. 24 inches is the right size. It's got the bezel so you can rest your hands. 16K pressure, which is industry leading, 165 Hertz, which is when you go high refresh rate, there's no way of going back. Even my MacBook and my iPad 120 Hertz, I don't think I could go back to 60. Camland certified, all these things add up to being the reason why I want this. Same with the mouse, you know, these are benchmarking R&D items. It's pointless me testing something that isn't this, really. You know, this isn't going to be a test and review channel. This is a benchmark and an R&D phase of a video game development. There is outliers, which is 8BitDo. The 8BitDo is a massive outlier in this market. You know, and if LG wants to come aboard and help me, then I would love that, because I'm using LG anyway, right? But I'm definitely thinking, if I get this, I can set up my second system. If I get this, and I get, you know, the mouse, and this is what we're going to have a look at. Keep her on. So if we go into there, and if I go and get something like, you know, the Hall Effect HGs, so I would love, honestly, I would love to replace this. I would love to replace this with the Q6 Hall Effect and Hall Effect sensors. The Nebula from Keychron is also uses TMR technology, the magnetic switch. But I think I would love to replace my full size for my work system, and I think I would also really like to get the something like this, maybe probably the Q3 80%. I think this would be nice. This would be nice then for my second system, so that again there's a very similar feel, industry leading. The only way that I probably wouldn't is if I bought one and it was very loud. I might buy a silent dampened mechanical keyboard for my workstation if the Nebula keys are loud. That's the only sort of caveat. So I wouldn't buy both of them at the same time. I would try one and then I would try another, and then the mouse as well. So the M6 kind of in the same spot as the 8BitDo, right? It punches well above its weight, and then I would probably go for the 8K one with the all silent micro switch, and I think that this would be a really nice mouse to AB with the Deathadder, and also just a nice mouse that I know I'm probably going to like the ergonomics. I've not held one in hand, but from the shape of it, it's most likely something that I would enjoy using, and it's got the scroll wheel for, you know, timelines and stuff. This could be a very nice work mouse. The Deathadder could be a very nice gaming mouse, benchmarking mouse. You know, so they're fulfilling multiple duties. Or alternatively, you know, I could go for something like the M7, which is more like the Basilisk. If I wanted to go for more of a Basilisk replacement, I think would be the best way to put that. You know, if I wanted to go for Basilisk replacement, then maybe the M7. But we will have to see. But this is definitely something that I'm looking at. It won't be long at all. You know, sort of in the next 6 months, chances are that I'll have my baseline and I'll have all this, and then in the following 6 months I'll have a long term. It won't be a review, but it will be my long term thoughts on it. And then it's just a matter of picking out games to benchmark everything through. And that's probably another video in and of itself. So I think I'll end it here. I think that's good enough for today. That gives you an idea of exactly what I'm doing on the channel, exactly where we're going. Like I said, the pod mic USB should be here, all things equal, tomorrow, so I can start doing those nice voiceovers and start recording some footage. I'm already in the midst of recording footage for a few games so that I can use my own footage to splice together for the imagery for those videos. So definitely stay tuned. There's a lot of things coming up in the pipe, and as we always say on this channel, this is Banshee Interactive. I'm David Roberts, and remember, this is not a simulation.